morning to Miss Rehana and my fellow panel.
Good morning.
I'm Bartolomeo Santa and I'm as panel A.
My name is Nataliana Domingo. I'm at panel B.
Okay, my name is Wenceslaus Anggat. I'm panel D.
And I am Rebecca. I am as panel C. So, I will lead our group discussion, which is our topic is behaviorism. Let me introduce what is behaviorism. Definition of behaviorism is the standard framework in educational psychology. Has been both influential in several cities for its inadequacies. On the other hand, it is restricted emphasis on visible action, which frequently ignores the interior cognitive process involved in learning. Behaviorism also holds that learning happens through conditioning, in which actions are modeled by reinforcement and punishment. Last but not least, behaviorism also which emphasis on external stimuli and reaction may overlook the relevance of interior mental process and cognitive growth. Next, we're gonna talk about analyze the influence of thinkers. Our group chose John B. Watson as our philosophist. John B. Watson is one of the early American psychologists to break the Freudian Sigmund Freud notion, which was our unconscious mind was behind of most of our behavior. As everyone knows, this idea was quickly gaining a lot of acceptance among psychologists in Europe and later in the US. At that time, Watson made his memorable declaration against Freud ideas in 1913 at Columbia University. The title of his declaration is Psychology as the Behaviorist Views It. According to John B. Watson, behaviorism was the sign of observable behavior because behavior was only could be observed, recorded or measured by any value for study either in humans or animals. For everyone's information, John B. Watson rejected the concept of unconscious and the internal mental state. Internal mental state is our thought, our feelings, or anything inside our body which cannot be measured because it was cannot be observed. Last but not least, he would explain the dreams and analyze it, indicating in the person life. So, next we're gonna talk about criticism of behaviorism. Panel B, what do you think about behaviorism?
Thank you for asking panel C. First of all, our emphasis on external behavior. Behaviorism primarily focus on observable behaviors and related internal mental processes like thought, emotions, and belief. The second one is neglect of individual agency and free will. Behaviorism suggests that behavior is solely determined by environmental stimuli and reinforcement. That's all from me.
And thank you, panel B, for your opinion. May I ask panel D for your opinion criticism of behaviorism?
Okay, thank you, panel D. So for my opinion is reductionism. Behaviorism is often criticized for being overly reductionism. By reducing complex human behavior and learning process to simple stimulus response pattern, behaviorism ignores the richness of human experience and complexity of cognitive functions. Complex human behavior are reduced to simple stimuli response mechanisms, overlooking the nuances and intricate natures of cognitive processes. So I pass it to panel D.
Thank you for your opinion, panel D. So, what about panel A? Do you have any idea on criticism of behaviorism?
Okay, thank you for asking me, panel C. My opinion, ignore social and cultural influence. Behaviorism overlooks the impact of social, cultural, and interpersonal factors on learning and behavior. Learning does not happen in a vacuum. It is often shaped by social interaction, cultural norms, and community practice. Behaviorism tends to view learning in isolation without considering the broader social and cultural context that influence behavior. Then, ethical concern in behavior modification, the use of behavior research principle, especially in behavior modification program, has raised ethical question. The manipulation of reward and punishment to control behavior can be seen as caustic or dehumanizing, especially in settings like school, prison, or therapy. The use of behaviorist technique, especially in controlled environments, can raise ethical issues to manipulation and autonomy. Thank you. That's all from me.
That's a good idea. Thank you for the ideas. I want to add on this criticism. Moreover, insufficient explanation for creativity and innovation. Critics argue that behaviorism cannot adequately explain creativity, insight, and spontaneous. This behavior that emerges without clear external reinforcement or prior conditioning which challenge the behaviorist view that behavior is primarily shaped by past reinforcements. Spontaneous creative behaviors that don't seem tied to prior conditioning challenge the behavior's assumption that all actions are based on past reinforcement. So that's all the point for criticisms. Do you have any add-on this topic?
Okay, for me is the behavior research framework is large concerned with exterior stimuli and reactions, frequently overlooking the underlying cognitive process that determine how students learn and interact with content. For example, while behaviorism may utilize rewards to encourage reading, it does not address the reasons why a kid struggle with reading comprehensions or lose interest in it. And that's for me, panel D.
Thank you for the ideas. So should we go on the next?
Okay.
The next is the impact of behaviorism. We have two part in the impact of behaviorism. Which one? The first one is educational psychology. So panel B, could you give me any point on this impact of behaviorism in educational psychology?
Thank you for asking, panel C. Key criticism is that behaviorism might erode inner drive. The theory's dependence on external rewards and punishment may cause students to execute activities simply for the purpose of receiving the rewards or avoiding penalties rather than developing a real interest in the topic. The second one is educational psychology has evolved to include cognitive and constructivist theories that highlight the relevance of internal mental process and the active building of knowledge. Thank you. That's all for me.
What's about you, panel C?
For me is another major critique is behaviorism. The basic all learning can be consistently quantified using observable outcomes. Behaviorism depends large on standardized testing and quantifiable actions to assess learning progress, which may not completely reflect the various ways in which students comprehend and apply knowledge. For example, A standardized test may not represent a student's critical thinking or creative problem-solving talent, which are important parts of learning that behaviorism's emphasis of observable answers may neglect. This constraint might result in an educational settings that value rote memory over meaningful learning. That's all from me.
Okay. Thank you, panel C. What about you, panel A?
The impact of behaviorism also highlights some limitation in its application to education. While behaviorist method contribute to efficient classroom management and measurable outcome, they can sometimes lead to a focus on rote memorization and superficial learning rather than deeper cognitive engagement. For instance, a classroom environment that relies heavily on rewards and punishment may achieve high level of compliance and task completion but might not effectively foster critical thinking or creativity. As a result, contemporary educational practice often seek to balance behaviorist technique with cognitive and constructivist approach, aiming to create a more holistic learning experience that support both immediate performance and long-term cognitive development. Thank you. That's all from me.
Okay. Thank you for the ideas. Should we go next on the last part in this impact on behaviorism?
Okay.
We're gonna talk about pedagogical practices. So, panel B, could you tell me what's your opinion on this impact?
Thank you for asking, panel C. First point on behaviorism, a reductionist approach which emphasizes visible behaviors over the underlying cognitive process required for truth learning is critics. The focus on stimulus response patterns may impede comprehension by ignoring the ways in which mental process like creativity and problem solving and in learning. Thank you. That's all from me.
Okay, what's about you, panel C?
For my point is, the next main point of criticism direct towards behaviorisms are its exclusive focus on the insidious human learning. Behaviorism mostly ignores the underlying cognitive process that are essential to learning in favor of concentrating on an observable behavior and the internal stimuli that influence them. So this method tends to ignore the mental process involved in comprehensions, problem solving and creativity, reducing learning to stimuli response pattern. For example, behaviorism may employ incentive to support fake memories through rote learning, but this approach may not promote a deeper comprehension or capacity to apply knowledge in novel situations. Opponents contend that this kind of instructions can result in shallow learning that prioritize comforting over long-term cognitive growth. So that's all from me, panel B.
Thank you, panel C, for your opinion. What about you, panel A?
Behaviorism has been heavily criticized for its weakness. One major criticism is that it focuses on exterior action at the expense of interior cognitive process. By focusing primarily on visible acts, behaviorism ignores the intricacies of mental activity like problem solving, memory, and critical thinking. This limited emphasis can lead to educational techniques that prioritize rote learning and behavioral conformity over deeper cognitive involvement and comprehension. Furthermore, behaviorism emphasis on standardized testing and measurable outcome can result in a restrictive educational atmosphere that fails to accommodates varied learning style and individual variation among students.
Thank you, Penelope. So, as we know, psychology has significant influence on pedagogical practices, impacting educational structures and approaches. As an effect of behaviorism, extremely organized classroom with clear objective and methodical approach to instructions were established. Behaviorists also have their own best technique like reward and punishment, are frequently employed in the classroom to control behaviorist concept, which is the foundation of control instruction and technology for education. So, last but not least, we're gonna do the conclusion for this topic. Pioneers such as John B. Watson, B.F. Skinner, and Edward Thorndike contribute considerably to the development of behaviorism in education. Watson's support for focusing entirely on observable behavior established behaviorism as a scientific technique. Despite its popularity, behaviorism has been attacked for its narrow focus, notably its contempt for interior cognitive process. Critics claim that behaviorism emphasis on visible action fails to account for the complex mental activity required for learning, such as cognitive process. Last but not least, behaviorism continues to have a substantial impact on educational psychology and teaching approaches. Reinforcement and instruction feedback are examples of behaviorist strategies that have been shown to effectively manage classroom behavior and improve learning outcomes. So, modern educational techniques frequently blend behavioral strategies with cognitive, constructivist, and socio-cultural approach to produce a more balanced and inclusive learning environment. This integration recognizes the significance of cognitive growth, emotional engagement, and social connection in education, making teaching techniques more sensitive to the needs of various learnings and encouraging a more holistic approach to education. Thank you for your contribution in our discussion. Thank you so much. So we're gonna end our discussion. That's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you.